Welcome back to JDM Legends presented by Turn 14 Distribution, where today we conquer this engine bay and call it complete. We are getting right into it. I just spent a ton of time hooking up the factory harness, hooking up all the connectors, and a few things here. Let's start off with over here. A bunch of you guys in a previous episode mentioned that mounting up this stock oil filter and our oil pressure sensor, the stock one and the aftermarket one with this T on the engine would have been a bit of a liability. That was probably a good call, so I did remote mount it. As you can see, moved it up to here. I don't necessarily love the angle of it, but because this piece is so big, I kind of had to angle it down that way, but it did fit up there. The other really neat and notable thing is Frenchie's Performance Garage makes this billet harness cover. You can see this is the factory one, and it's plastic and it's kind of faded. I mean, I could try to back to black this, but this piece just like levels it up. Thanks to Remade in USA Ian, who connected me with these guys. Like it's a beautiful piece, and it just finishes off so much of what he has done here, and it looks really, really nice. I also had to add a set of wiring specialties, injector harness adapters here. You can see I did not want to cut the factory harness, so I've got these adapters that plug into the ID injectors, and they make these little adapters, which are fantastic. Last but not least here, I had to wire up the boost control solenoid from Link. You can see it is a 3-port unit. It is wired up. There was a little bit of vacuum routing that had to be done, but nothing, out of the ordinary. I did plug it into the factory harness here with these two connectors, and I think this is gonna work. This is gonna save me not having to run an extra 2 wires into the cabin. As you guys just saw, the air intake temperature sensor is in that lower intercooler pipe, and I just realized I have this injector resistor bypass from Wiring Specialties that I need to hook up into here, because these are low impedance injectors. I think these are it's either low or high. I'm reversing it. You can see this is the big resistor box that is from the factory. So I am changing that out. That means I can actually ditch this entire setup right here, this big bracket. And I know some of you are gonna look right now. Look, you can see over here, see this? This is a little bit of surface rust. Ooh. Very, very minor. Ooh, no, and that does live on this car. And I know some of you guys are gonna point it out. And here's the thing, I will eventually restore this car back to better than new condition. But right now, I wanna be able to enjoy this car as is, so I don't wanna go down the rabbit hole of like taking everything off and restoring it. That's not what this build is about. That does look cleaner, doesn't it, DP? I think that's gonna look good. I'm gonna just spit shine this area up and nobody will notice the rust. Nobody. Quick update here. I am pretty much almost done routing all of the wiring for the sensors. You can see here, once again, I've used that DEI wire loom, which is fantastic. This will be for the fuel pressure sensor. This one here will be for the oil pressure. I did run some wire to the air intake temperature sensor. I also had to add, I realized that the Link has a map sensor built into the board there. So I did run a vacuum tube as well that we're going inside into the engine bay, which I did tee off in the back here. And it looks pretty clean, like it's routed right along the engine harness, or I guess it's the engine harness / chassis harness along here. So it's pretty clean. And now what I'm gonna do is, we found a spot, we ran it through the chassis on this side, and we're going into the inside cabin through a tiny little hole behind the fender here. It's just like this small, but I think it's going to just be enough to pass all this stuff through. And that way, again, there's no cutting, no like drilling. It's all kind of just seamless. So all the sensors are finally wired in, and I almost forgot to wire in this, but I caught it last minute, was able to route it. And this is a Link CAN Lambda wideband O2 sensor. And the neat thing about this is going to a CAN system allows you to have a better accuracy rather than an analog controller like most of the units are. Actually, HP Academy, Andre did a great 2-minute video explaining the huge advantages of this. I'll put a link in the top right description for it. The next step in the wiring process is to install the Link G4X GTR link into the factory case. And this is actually the GTR case, and I really didn't want to take it apart, mainly because if you look at this, they have soldered the screws that hold the ECU to the case in place.
Weird.
And that, I would have had to do some soldering, and again, I just don't want to risk damaging anything. So I went into the stash and pulled out what I think is an S14 Zenki ECU box. Certainly doesn't look as good, but it is going to function just as well. Like, look at this. So the Link ECU here fits up perfectly. And as a bonus, I'm gonna be able to run all the wires through here. I'm just gonna end up cutting a little bit of a slot here. So this will go on here, and you can see if I just lop this piece off here, I'll be able to run all the wires through here, get this on. The brackets bolt onto this. So this is gonna be a seamless integration. And by the way, you guys see this? Link supplies this. I assume there are enough issues with static electricity and frying ECUs that they supply this like little wrist grounding strap thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's a cool little tidbit. I've never seen something like this before. DP, you remember that huge rat's nest of wires you had in the Supra?
I do.
Look at this. I know. This is what I have accomplished here.
Yeah, it's super clean.
This is like my second time wiring, and I think it's way, way better. Unfortunately, your car was the guinea pig to a certain extent. And what we do have here is our expansion loom. This has all of the pressure sensors wired into here and our air intake temperature sensor, and this is going to plug into here. And then this here is our CAN Lambda, so our wideband, and that plugs into here. And then last but not least, I'm gonna have to shorten this, but you can see this will be for the map sensor that goes into here. And essentially what we now have is a motorsports grade standalone ECU in the factory housing that's gonna tuck away in here, super clean install. And really that's the beauty of the Link. You now have full control of all the engine parameters. We're going to a map-based system. We're gonna have like launch control, traction control if we want it. There's just so many features that the Link provides, and we really love it. We've used Link on a bunch of cars now, and it's easy to set up. Noobs like us can get this thing running, and then you can at least at that point have your car movable enough where you can take it to a tuner. So I'm just gonna finish up this install and we'll show you how clean it is. All right, I am beyond impressed how good this looks. This is like the definition of OEM plus. We've got the factory housing, we've got the Link ECU. The only thing is there's like this one plug coming off the rear for the USB for the computer, and that's it, and it looks factory. How rad is that? I just plugged into the Link ECU to confirm everything is working, and lo and behold, we have a connection. Everything is on. So there's a lot of stuff to go through here to initially set up your ECU. And HP Academy actually offers a full course on the Link 4G, the Link G4 software, and it's a full tutorial. And look at that, guys, they have discounted it from $99 to $69 US, and we are gonna throw in a discount code for another 30 bucks off. So you really can't go wrong. We're gonna entice you. So for those of you guys that are looking to set up your ECU, as you can see, this is like a really, really detailed course. It goes through initial setup, engine configuration, trigger setup, trigger scope, like calibration, and so much more. You can see there's a ton of stuff in here, even for fuel and ignition. So this will at least get you up and running. And I mean, you can dive into here and you can really go out and street tune your car. These courses are certainly really, really wonderful. So there's just one last thing left to do in the interior, because I am not touching anything in here. This car has beautiful seats. It has a beautiful steering wheel. It's got a multifunction display, so I can see all the engine parameters there. However, the shift knob, you can see, for whatever reason, is fairly worn comparatively to the rest of this vehicle. And I do have two options here. So this is a brand new one. New from Nissan. Ooh, that's a nice boy. Look at that one. Actually, I think this is considered, oh, maybe not. I was gonna say there's two different models. There's like the early and late ones. So I don't know. I'm debating putting this on. However, I did jump onto nissanparts.cc and order up a Nismo Knob, which I think we gotta go with this one. Let's open it up and see how it looks. Look at the packaging on this DP.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Ooh.
To keep it in place.
Wow.
It's like a straw. It's some elaborate packaging. Let's have a look at this thing. Ooh, I already like it. Although,
is it Delrin or?
It's weighted, and I think honestly it feels cheap.
Yeah.
What I think it is you can kind of see like the imprint. They inject rubber onto a metal piece.
Okay.
So it feels nice, but it certainly doesn't feel like a.
Doesn't feel as beefy as the stock one.
Like the craftsmanship on this, I think, is 100 times better than this. But you know,
it doesn't say Nismo, so it's not as cool.
That's right. That's right. Uh-oh.
It's got to be the right size. Is it?
Dude, it's not the right thread pitch.
How is that possible?
Is that possible? Is that possible?
It's a Nissan part for a Nissan. What is going on here?
Oh God, it's not the right thread pitch.
Is this not for a GTR? Like, is this for a 350Z or something?
I'm pretty sure I bought it on, like I said, Nissan Parts CC, and it was in the GTR category area, but maybe it's just listed as a shifter. Oh man.
Well, so much for that idea.
Oh, well, that is a huge bummer, but you know, let's just put this back in here. You can kind of see how it's gonna look. I mean, I do somewhat like it. I think it would sit up like that, because yeah, it still needs to be able to do the lock thing, but that's what it's just puzzling to me. Because look at that, man.
Yeah, that's really weird.
I just pulled the instructions out here, and yes, indeed, of course, this is a M10 based shift knob, where I needed the M12 one looking on here. So, oh man, I don't know if they shipped the wrong one or I ordered the wrong one, but anyways, that is a bummer. I'm gonna have to see if I can order that M12 piece and put this one on in a future episode here, because I do like it. I wanna see how it looks despite this thing looking so damn good too. Before I wrap this one, I wanted to touch on something from a previous episode, and that was the radium catch can setup. I forgot to mention that this is actually designed for an R32. So we did have to modify it in terms of like the location of where it went. That's why that bracket went on with double-sided tape. That's why this can usually resides, I think, up here on the 32, and we've moved it down there. Some of you also pointed out that these are gonna fill up very, very quickly, and when we hit the track, they're just gonna overflow because of the size. A lot of guys do end up running like massive catch cans up here. And yes, if you are building a track car, I would also recommend that. But what we are doing here is we've built a street car that will see very light track duty, which means this thing is not, these cans are gonna be adequate for what we're doing. We're not going out doing 20-minute lapping sessions. This is gonna be, you know, a 3 to 5 lap wonder of a car, and that'll be it. So I think we are totally covered off on these radium catch cans. They're completely adequate for my setup. All right, guys, we are gonna wrap it at that. And I did wanna give you a quick little preview of what is to come in a future episode. And that is this, which is a Nismo S-Tune front bumper. I'm excited to get it on. We have some other exterior goodies that are coming. So as always, thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, certainly think about giving us a thumbs up and subscribing and turning on that notification bell. I've been getting a ton of messages of people complaining that they don't get notifications for our videos. Well, that's because you gotta have that bell on.